We are live. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of Real Talk. I am excited to have a returning guest. I have DMarie here with me this evening, and we are going to be talking about a romance novel. However, it is definitely something that we want to kind of dive into because it's on the backdrop of domestic violence. And as you know, today is Domestic Violence Awareness Day. And we thought that this would be an appropriate time to not only highlight the ability to love your way out of pain, but also just to talk about the importance of such a very heart wrenching, I would say, disease, because a lot of times we try to pretend that things aren't what they are and they continue to grow and they just penetrate different areas of our lives that we hadn't even anticipated. So we are here to really shed a little light on that. But before we get into such a serious topic, I would love to give the mic over to DMarie so she can give us a quick intro before we get into some conversation. So, welcome, DMarie.
Thank you so much, America's Supermom. My name is DMarie. I am a self published author and poet, and I also spent 25 plus years in the field of mental health and mental wellness, which means that I will always be passionate about mental health. In the writing of Glass Heart Forever Yours, I had an opportunity to incorporate a number of the skills and episodes and events that I had encountered during the time that I worked as a psychiatric nurse, up to and including the point that my main character in the book is in the process of trying to build a new relationship, but she's laden by the baggage of a prior relationship where she was a victim of domestic violence. And that brings on some very unique, real life kind of challenges that can be seen and attributed to some of the things that happen in society today. So, with today being Domestic Violence Day, I
Mhm.
wanted to share some idea of how domestic violence also affects our mental wellness.
Mhm.
Because once domestic violence has become a part of the mainstay or the framework of your household, everyone within that household is affected emotionally in some way. So we'll get into that, I'm sure, at some point, but that's somewhat of the overview of where we are and how we came to be dealing with this phenomenal topic.
Absolutely. So we've got some people that are joining us on Facebook, and we want to say thank you so much for joining us and keep the questions, comments coming because, you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times we hear a lot of these terms or we hear about these epidemics of some sort. But if we've never experienced them firsthand, we just don't know what to share, what to even highlight. But I love the fact that you're talking about mental wellness, so I have no choice but talk about the elephant in the room because I am not at home. I am in a facility currently. One of my children is just really struggling with this mental wellness. And we were sharing a little bit about that before we hit record. But I think it's so important to realize that, we have real obstacles that we have to face every day. And it is, we're not necessarily knowing what hand we're going to get dealt, but it's important for us to understand how we want to respond with that. I was talking to the lady who was admitting my daughter because she's going to be admitted, and I said, I'm an advocate for mental wellness. I've been where my daughter has been, and she said, thank you for what you do. And I think it's so important for us to realize that everybody has a story. So someone may not be struggling with mental wellness, but it could be domestic violence. It could be so many different things that we just kind of think that no one even understands, no one can even believe is happening. We go through this period of trying to hide things. So I love that you said about the mental health. So, about the domestic violence, what was it that really kind of sparked you to kind of tackle that big topic, or have that character kind of be an overcomer from that situation?
Well, with a background in psychiatric services and mental health, that's my passion. That is one of my passions. I actually started studying the masters, Freud and that whole slew of Pavlov with the dogs that salivated and all that, as a senior in high school. I had all of my credits for graduation except 2 or 3. So I had a full day where I could go and take any classes that I wanted. And our principal had been a professor at a college, and he was teaching psychology to the high school students, the seniors who had some free time. So since I had some free time, I dove into psychology with both feet, fell in love with it, and oh my God. My desire was to become a psychologist. And then after I got into a number of the aspects that were involved, I decided that I wanted to be closer to the care of the individual. So I became a registered nurse and took on psychology as my discipline so that I could still do what I loved, but I would have a hands-on type of atmosphere with the clients. And that paid off for me in a huge way. So I'm simply passionate about mental wellness. I know that although we don't treat it in that way, the whole body has to be cared for when a person has an illness. And mental wellness or unwellness is an illness that has to be treated like a medical illness. You make the diagnosis, you find out what the problem is, and then you search for the best way to remedy that problem. So I was so passionate as a nurse in that discipline that I looked forward to going to work every day. And a lot of people couldn't understand how or why I felt that way about mental health. My theory was that the mental patient deserves the same kind of quality care that a sick person does from a medical perspective, because the whole body has to be cared for. What I learned is that sometimes your mental wellness will affect your medical wellness and vice versa, because there are endorphins and chemicals in the body that if they're not being manufactured in the proper proportions or amounts, then you're going to go into a depression. All kinds of things will happen if you aren't careful in terms of what's going on in your medical and mental wellness. So the two go hand in hand to such a large degree that it's just astounding.
I love that. And, I think what comes up for me is how you happen to establish trust with an individual. Because I just know I can only say in my story with overcoming depression was, having that ability to trust someone to be vulnerable with them. So, what tips would you share with everybody with your experience on if they have a family member or a friend or someone that they notice something's just not quite right, to establish a trust to be able to share about a possible domestic violence situation?
My goodness, that is huge. That is really huge, because secrecy is one of the key components that causes domestic violence to remain the problem that it is.
Mhm.
Most often, the person who is the recipient of the domestic violence is resistant or reluctant to talk about it. They're ashamed, they're embarrassed. If it's someone in the family, they don't really want them to know. And all the while that they're trying to hide the fact that it's happening, if it's family and you're close to your family, they already have an indication, or they already know. They simply need a validation from you to say, yes, this is going on. And that family member may not know how to approach you because they respect the fact that it's a personal thing, it's your life, it's privacy on your part. So it's a very tightrope or a fine line that you're walking in terms of assisting someone who has a situation that involves domestic violence. So, my best advice would be to simply say, I'm here for you. If I can help you in any way, whatever you share with me will remain anonymous. I think that's one of the main problems, that people who are victims of domestic violence, they're concerned about somebody going out and telling everybody what's going on in my house. And as I said, in most cases, everybody already knows. You just don't know that they know. But if you have children, they're giving away little cues at school. The teachers probably notice their behavior. And since the teachers are trained professionals as well, they understand how to spot students who are displaying some kind of behavior that's outside what they would consider the norm for that child. So all kinds of clues are being given off, and it just goes back to finding the right time to approach that person and making sure that they understand that whatever they share with you will be anonymous. You don't
Mm.
want to pry into their affairs and get any more out of them than necessary. You don't want to be the one to try to tell them, well, child, I'd call the police, I'd do this. You want to get them to it just to open up to you. And then some professional person needs to come in at that point and work with that individual.
I love that. Now, so my next question, and then we do have a couple of guests that are going to be joining us with the panel discussion because, some of these topics are, like I said, they're kind of challenging, but, it's important to raise our hand and have the conversation. So, this could have been a story about, a old boyfriend that it just didn't work out. And, just like a simple romance. What was it that really had you overcome such a hard topic? Because I just think it would have been so easy to say, hey, she had a breakup or, something like that. But just to have something so pivotal and a type of topic that a lot of people, as one of the people say, they take a blind eye to. They just kind of pretend that it's not existing. So, what was it that really helped you to dive deeper into that?
I would have to be totally transparent and tell you that part of it, a large part of it, was the discipline, my career that I have followed for some 25 plus years. I love my psychiatric nursing career with all kinds of fervor and passion. I was very passionate about the clients that I worked with. I saw them achieve rehabilitation levels that we didn't think were possible. We did not think that it was possible for the patients who were long-term patients to acquire some of the skills that they ended up acquiring. And part of that was because of the effort that my night shift crew put forth. We would counsel with those patients in the mornings when we were not, it wasn't designated that we would have a counseling session, but we decided to put on a fashion show for the women. We went on an all women's unit, and they had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was a test to see, are you serious about doing this? Because if you're not, don't waste our time. But those ladies would get up and be completed with all their activities of daily living, taking a shower, doing their hair, getting dressed, and they would rush out to be ready to sit in that 15 to 20-minute therapy session. This went on for 13 weeks. And at the culmination of the 13 weeks, they were phenomenal. You would have thought you were looking at a walk down the runway in New York. They had their clothes on, their heads were held high. They modeled fashions. One had on a hat. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. And we sent out official invitations. When I say we, the staff on my unit, inviting the superintendent of the hospital, the psychiatric and psychologists from our unit with those ladies. The assistant superintendent came, the chaplain came, and they tried to get us to change the time at first from 6 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, no, no. I'm saying no for two very pivotal reasons. These patients are comfortable on their unit. I don't know how they would perform in the cafeteria. I said, but the other thing is the staff members have worked diligently and over and above anything that we ask them to do. And I want them to receive the acknowledgement that they deserve for what they did. Everybody showed up. The activity room was overflowing with people. It was a phenomenal experience. So I know that when you put your heart into something and you trust 100% in the success of what it is you're about to do, anything is possible. Anything is possible.
I love that. And, for me, I'm like in the early morning because it's like starting your day as a champion, so you got all day to ride that wave. So I love that.
Yes, yes.
Now, and before we have our guests join us, that's going to be on the panel, Talk to us about, your fashion that you have right now. I think that's a good lead in because not only is this about domestic violence, but it's also on the backdrop of the Kentucky Derby. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, let me tell you what I actually did, America's Supermom. I had to make a decision because I had decided to wear a hat that was about that high. And I said, oh, she won't be able to take this. Okay. When I put the hat on, I looked at it in the mirror. And the only reason I started to wear it is because it had red and purple in it. And those are the colors of the Red Hat Society, of which I am an ambassador and was at one time very active with that group. But
Mhm.
the red and the purple are their colors, which is why I have this red and purple on today and representing the purple attire for the Domestic Violence Day, which is October 20th.
Mhm.
But the hat is a replica of the fascinators that the women reportedly wear to the Kentucky Derby. I had never gone until the year that I had published the book or completed it. And I said, I want to go and see for myself before I put this book out if what I'm writing in the book is apropos. I
Mhm.
thought I was walking through the pages of my book at the Derby. I was just overcome with emotion. So I will be there this spring with a book fair, and I am looking so forward to letting them know that there is a book out there that represents all the wonderful things that go on at the Derby.
I love that. I love that. All right. So we do have Kimberly Lechnick who is going to be joining us. Uh, Kimberly, take a few moments to kind of introduce yourself. This is kind of, how it is with me, girl. We don't know what to expect. So just introduce yourself and, and we're going to get into a couple questions.
Oh, I love this. And first, I'd like to say it's a pleasure to meet you, DMarie. I love the title of your book. It's
Oh my
it's
goodness, thank you.
it's really beautiful, and I hope I get an opportunity. I've got a list. I don't want to say that I can absolutely dive into it today, but I will put it on my list to read. I really enjoyed what you were sharing. But my name is Kimberly Lechnick, as Lachelle had mentioned, and I'm a relationship growth strategist. But I have family that I was actually involved in domestic violence. So this is one of the causes that is really important to me. Absolutely. And one of the things was very interesting when you were talking about secrecy. For me, it wasn't secrecy. For me, it was feeling like I was being judged for the drama in my home when I was younger and when I just wanted someone to listen.
Mhm.
And so I can really identify with that. And primarily, I'm stepping out to, and I'm just going to get emotional, but
It's
I'm stepping out
Listen,
because
just take a deep breath and
yeah.
just stop and take a deep breath. Okay.
because my half sister, suffered
Wow.
so much physical pain
Mm.
throughout her life, and I feel like I can't feel like I can't talk about it anymore. I I feel like she's not here anymore. She passed away, but I feel like I need to talk about it. I not for me, because I know what Lachelle was talking about when she was saying, um, it's like sometimes you question whether, like God is giving you, but I feel like it's been many years and I have rose to the challenge every time God has given me stuff. But this is more about being strong for her because she's not here and she's not here. And I can be strong for myself all day long. I always have been, but she's not here to represent herself today. So I really, really appreciate that you've written this book. and that Lachelle has created the space today to talk about it.
Mm.
You know, when I wrote the book, and your name again is
Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Yeah.
When I wrote the book, Kimberly, it was so amazing. I had been in the worst traumatic event of my entire life. I had procrastinated my whole life about writing a book. And it was an automobile accident where I fractured or broke my right leg. And I had to be at home for 4 months. So that whole time, in my mind's eye, God was saying to me, put up or shut up. And I left my dining room table, which is where I set up to write. And I would get away from that and think, does God actually talk to people like that? Will you actually hear him saying, put up or shut up? But that's what I took him to be saying to me, which is how I ended up typing the book. I thought, on the other hand, too, why would he want would God be pushing me to type a romance novel?
Mm-hmm.
Little did I know that this book has been received by other people as way more than a romance novel. They understand better than I did when I wrote it exactly what the book is about. So it gives me an opportunity to express to you that it covers the spectrum of love. It covers the spectrum of love. Victor is a patient man who waits for Darlene to understand that he means her no harm. It's beautiful. I had someone here, a politician in our city, who read it. I'm from Tennessee. And she said, Dorothy, the book is delicious. I've never read a book that was delicious. That book is delicious. And I was blown away by what she said. But now that I'm having events and other people are listening to me explain the book, that is what God intended. He wants us all to know that love conquers all. And at the end of the day, if it's true and lasting, you can trust that man, you can depend on him, and he's going to be there when you need him.
Love that. I think, one of the things that I think is really profound too is how, the character is having hope. Now, yeah, you go through the journey of, I don't know if I should trust this person, because you've got this past that's playing in your head a lot of times. But the whole idea of having hope and moving forward, and, I just think that is such a gift to be able to know what to capture, what to put in the book for people to have that. So, do you think that's just something that you just was a download? You kind of feel present to be able to do that? What do you think really helped you to kind of take us on that journey of hope?
Oh my goodness. I have had hope all my life. Okay. Born and raised in the South, um, in a family where there were 8 children. My parents were not wealthy, so we had to make sure that we had plenty of hope, and there was plenty of love in the family.
Mm-hmm.
My parents saw to it that they did everything that they could to help us succeed in life and to have confidence in ourselves. So that's where my basic hope came from. But as I grew and started moving around in life and getting things, Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison became my idols in the field of literary prose, poetry, what have you. And I told myself if I could do anything even close to what they both had done with I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and that was Maya's book. And then Toni Morrison wrote a book entitled Tar Baby. If I could come up with anything even close to that, I would thank God and consider that as a huge success. So they were my inspiration to do the very best that I could. On the backside of that, as a registered nurse in the field of psychology, I love people. I absolutely love people. So for me, a favorable outcome is a must. But I also know that having written, and I am a writer, that you have to have a challenge. There has to be something that's causing a problem. And then you solve it in the course of writing the book. And that is what I came up with.
Love that. So, do you have any questions, Kimberly?
So, I would love to learn, just a little tidbit. So it's a romance novel.
Yes.
Okay, so it's really romantic, and then you are you have the theme of domestic violence woven throughout the book. Is that what I understand? Or
Darlene has a mantra, a phrase that she repeats on the regular, so much so that finally it gets under Victor's last nerve, because she's constantly saying, no, it's too soon. Not now. It's just too soon. We don't know each other. I don't know you. You don't know me. I can't trust you. It's just too soon. Anything that he proposed or wanted to do, it was just too soon. And what was happening to her, there were flashbacks in her mind of what had happened in the prior relationship. She goes off on him at one time and just slam blasts him with everything she could muster because of what had happened in the past. So it finally got to the point that he had to say to her, listen, I'm not that guy. I don't even know him. I'm not that person. You're going to have to learn to accept me for who I am, and I want you to trust me. The book is very poignant. It is very real. It's very humanistic. But then I've fallen in love with my character, so you should know I'm going to be biased, okay? There's a romance going on here, and it's me and them, okay?
oh my goodness, I love it. And now I can kind of see that imagery of glass heart. So
Yeah.
your main character has this real fragile heart, and it sounds like she has to be really brave in revealing her heart. And then that comes the forever yours.
Yeah.
And then she surrenders to him. I don't want to blow the end.
I am not about to answer that question. That's why you need the book. Okay. Surrender. I like that word, surrender. That's a good word. But we're not going there, okay? I'm just setting you up to say that they had a lot to overcome, okay? But let me tell you this. Try the fact that Victor is patient. He sends a chauffeur-driven car to pick her up and bring her from Nashville to Louisville, Kentucky. They go dancing on the riverboat. She hadn't danced in years. And he says something to the effect of, just place your head on my shoulder and let me do all the work. So you will find out that he has smooth moves on and off the dance floor, okay?
Well, you know what they say about men that can dance. That's a good indication.
Yes.
That means, whoa, watch out.
Absolutely. But the book, I promise you, it will be a very good read. And the one downside to the fact that it is a phenomenal book, it's the first of 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a series of their romance.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. So it can only get better.
Yeah.
That is very true. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds to me, it fills me with hope, right? Like I just, as women and men are listening, probably more women that are listening to this conversation, it will fill them with hope. And hope is so important for future, relationships, knowing that their heart is made of glass as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. You couldn't have done better with that title.
So much. And what is so amazing, it's amazing that you said more women than men. I'm not so sure that that's true. I am not so sure that that's true. When I wrote the book, anytime you get ready to start marketing a product, everybody's saying, especially the people that you hire to do your marketing, well, who's your target audience? Who's your target audience? And I'm saying, I don't know yet. Anybody that reads is what I'm considering as my target audience. That's me, because I want to sell the book to anybody that reads. But they're trying to get me to identify age 35 through 47 and a half and 1 month. That kind. I don't know. However, I was a guest of Michelle on a LinkedIn event, international event. Mm-hmm. We kept men on the phone in their country at 3 a.m. in the morning who talked for 2 hours discussing this book. we did exactly what you're doing, Kimberly. My jaw dropped. I couldn't let them know well, they couldn't see me, but I'm about to go into stitches. They stayed on for 2 hours. One man ordered 3 copies of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It was amazing. They had so many questions and so much input.
Mm-hmm.
Then 2 days later, I go to the repair shop to get some work done on my car. The manager of that department was the man who decided to come over and help me with the car. I thought, thank goodness. So I'm always this person that feels if you get friendly with the person that's doing something for you, some work or whatever, or even a waitress in a restaurant, they tend to do a better job. So I rolled down the window on the right side because he was on the right side of the car. And he said, well, how'd your day going, little lady? I said, oh my God, you would ask that. I said, I have a book that's going on Amazon, so I get off into this book. Okay. Listen, it gets better, Kimberly. He said, really, what's the book about? I said, it's Glass Heart Forever Yours. It's a romance novel. We were just talking about that. I said, we who? He and his guys had just had a discussion about how to keep the romance in their marriage. He told me he had been married 30 years. One of his guys had been married 15. To make a long story short, I told him that day, I said, what I want you to do this evening is to take your wife 1 red rose. I said, don't buy a dozen. Don't worry about having her think that you're cheap, because if she's the woman that I think she is, she'll get it. I said, take her 1 single red rose. I said, I'm going to check back with you in a week or so to see what kind of mileage you made with that flower. Okay. I said, listen, Kimberly. I said, if you handled it right, you should have gotten some mileage out of that rose. So and I can say all of that because Michelle has been asking me, why did I write the book?
Mm-hmm.
I had a chance to marry the love of my life.
Mm.
And that is part of why I wrote the book. I know that there is true love out there. I know that. I experienced it. This man is 6 feet tall. After we had our 2 kids, I'd come home in the evenings and be doing all this stuff that moms do to get ready for the next day. And I would never get a chance to roll my hair. And he knew that I didn't like going out without looking like I had stepped out of a bandbox. So he decided, I'll roll your hair.
Oh.
He would have me sit between his legs on the den floor, and he would section off my hair and roll my hair. Now, when he first started doing it, I was in stitches because I didn't want him messing with my head. Okay. But then I realized he thinks that he is really doing above and beyond anything that you would think when he's helping you with So I just sat back, relaxed, and took a deep breath and said, go for it. Now, I had to learn how to pin it a certain way to manage the curls that he had put in until he actually got it, but he did get it. And It was wonderful. And when I tell that story now to women, they go, oh my God, I didn't see it that way at first. So sometimes the things that men want to do to let us know that they want to pamper us or how much they care about us, we have to be willing to accept, because I would not have accepted that. And it ended up having huge benefits in the long run. Okay.
Boy, we keep going there.
So yes, I was glad I let him start to roll my hair. All right. But these guys at the service station are going to become my beta testers.
Yeah.
I want to find out exactly what I'm saying that affects men and how it will help them in their relationship. So I'm going back with that proposal to work with those guys.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what to say.
I don't either.
I'm still thinking about how long the rose lasted and the fact that he was rolling your hair and he's a good dancer.
See, okay.
I love that. This is just, I mean, I really think this is a great book. And I love how you have woven in an important topic with the romance, because it's about the emotion, getting people emotionally invested in the book so that they can talk about, have a conversation and really have empathy. You're taking us on a journey where most people, even if they haven't experienced it firsthand, they can begin to have that trust to go somewhere. Because, I think a lot of people, if you say something about domestic violence, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to hear about it. I don't know what to do about it, hear about it. but at least this makes it where it is comfortable to talk about it so that you can learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have just been humbled. I will simply say I have been humbled because I had no idea, which is why I couldn't tell anybody, even my marketing people. I don't know what my target market is. I
Mhm.
have no clue. This is my first romance novel. If I had been writing for some time, I could tell you who had bought the bulk of my books, what age they were. I don't know. I have no idea. And every group that I talk to, every event that I have, I'm able to strike an accord or resonate with them in some way. So I still don't know. I'm
Mhm.
just holding my breath and waiting to see. I'm so grateful that the message is something that is transgenerational, evidently. And
Mhm.
I have coined the phrase now that love is the other universal language. For
Mm.
a long time, everybody said that music was a universal language because you
Mhm.
didn't have to do anything but just listen. Well, for love, you just have to show up.
Mm.
You never know who is waiting to make your day, or you never know how you'll be able to make someone else's day. And it doesn't always mean love and romance.
Mhm.
It could be that agape love where we're told by the Bible to just love our fellow man. And
Mhm.
that comes about when you have self love. When you love yourself and you move around the marketplace with a sense of self confidence and increased self esteem, you can attract anything.
Love that. I think that is wonderful. So, this has been a great, great conversation. And I think, the fact that you can laugh, be joyous around a serious topic, and really get some good insight, I think is really important. So, Kimberly, what are your final thoughts, before we wrap everything up? Or do you have a final question or anything you would like to share?
So seeing that this is, you've got me curious. I'm gonna look up your book absolutely this evening. Um, because I do agree with Lachelle when she says that this is really, this is a great way to bring up such a heavy,
Mm-hmm.
topic and, weave it through. It kind of reminds me of that old movie years ago when the guy was turning the lights on and off, right? You
Yes,
know, I can't remember the name of
I
it.
can't
You talking
either.
about The Shining?
No, he was turning, it was like in the 1920s and the
Oh,
1930s. And it was an old black and white, and he's flipping the
Oh,
lights on and off, and she's thinking that she's going crazy, right? It's to,
right, right.
oh, it was gaslight. It was
Okay,
gaslight.
okay.
okay.
And but the approach that you're taking is just so wonderful. So when can we expect the next book to come out?
The book that I'm promoting now, which is Glass Heart Forever Yours, will go live on Amazon on November the 15th. Okay.
Oh, it hasn't come out yet. Okay.
Right. And this is a pre-sale campaign that I'm in right now, where I'm taking pre-sale orders. And the people that order the book through me, I will get them a personally autographed copy from the author. So you might want to look at that as well. But the book goes live on Amazon on November 15th.
Absolutely.
It will be in
Absolutely. I
both an
do.
ebook and paperback form. And I'm thinking of doing an audiobook.
Ooh, I do have one more question.
Yes.
So I know you said that you don't really know who your target audience is for the book, but since this heavy topic is woven through, do you think that it would, or do you think it resonates with anyone who is challenged with this topic of domestic violence?
Kimberly, I have a full court press. Do you know anything about basketball?
Mhm.
I have a full court press going with the domestic violence centers here in Tennessee, okay, and
Okay.
Kentucky, because I think that the ladies there would be immensely helped by just reading the book. And
Mhm.
since that's probably a nonprofit entity, I will get sponsors
Mhm.
to purchase books so that I can give those books to the shelters.
Wow. Well, with that saying, or with that being said, I'd love a copy.
Mhm.
Okay.
And maybe a few more.
Yes.
So
And
yeah,
what I
we
need is some way to contact you, because what I'm also looking for or opportunities to speak, do events, virtual, Zoom, or otherwise, so that I can get the word out that the book is out, that
Mhm.
it's being widely received. And it seems as though it's going to be something that will help both men and women. And I didn't realize that men are having as much dialogue
Right.
about what can I do to make sure that she knows I'm here. And my beta testing process is going to help them to understand that she knows you're here, but I also want you to pick up on the cues that she gives so you can know this woman really loves me because she's doing this, she's doing that. Have you missed all of this? So it's going to be a win-win in so many ways.
Very exciting. Well, Lachelle, again, thank you so much for having this platform, and thank you for inviting me to this very important conversation. And I'm so excited about your book.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. I'm so glad I met you. Thank you so much.
And I couldn't agree more. I think it's definitely a great conversation. And I love how you've woven in these great, meaty type of topics in a way that is lighter so that we can be educated about how we can talk about the topic, because I think a lot of times we get really, intimidated, if not affecting us, and then just the whole thing of not knowing what you don't know. So I love that element is there as well. So tell everybody again how they can get a hold of the book and whatever you want to share with us as we wrap up this conversation, DMarie.
The ebook can be purchased as we speak on kobo.com, DMarie Shy King. And my website is where they can go to give me their information. If they'll go to my website, which is DMarieShyKing.com, go all the way down to the bottom, leave your contact information, and I will get back with you with a personally autographed copy of the book.
Love that. And so any final thoughts that you would like to leave with everybody today?
Just that love is the other universal language. And that if we could practice more self-love, which means being prepared. So when we meet that special someone, we are already halfway there.
Mm.
We're not looking for someone to fulfill us or make us who we ought to be. We're bringing our authentic self to that relationship, and it makes for such a much more smooth transition than it would otherwise. Absolutely.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, DMarie, and thank you, Kimberly, for joining us. It's been a great conversation, and we appreciate you all watching with us this evening. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to DMarie. I did post a 1-800 number if you know someone who is being affected with domestic violence. There's also a text number that you can text to for that. Again, we just thank you so much for joining us and share this video. This is a light way to bring up the topic and DMarie's expertise. She's somebody that you can reach out to get a little insight about the conversation and topic. So thank you guys so much for watching. Those of you that have watched us live, and if you're on the replay, we appreciate this as well. Again, DMarie and Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you all.
All right, you guys have a wonderful evening, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.